You want to know how I single-handedly destroyed the best relationship of my life? Strap in, because this one is a doozy. I am Sienna, 29 years old, and I am about to tell you how I let my own ego and thirst for drama trick me into leaving a man who would have walked through fire for me, only to realize, way too late, that the fire I started was the one that would burn me to the ground. My life was perfect. That was the problem. It was suffocatingly, annoyingly perfect. I had a career as a public relations director that people would kill for. I had a wardrobe full of designer labels, and I had Lucas. Lucas, my 33-year-old husband. He wasn't a tech bro or an architect like the guys my friends dated. He was a landscape designer. He spent his days with dirt under his fingernails and his head in the clouds, planning elaborate gardens for the city's elite. Lucas was steady. He was the kind of man who woke up 20 minutes before me, just to make sure the coffee was brewed to the exact temperature I liked. He ironed my blouses because he knew I hated doing it. He left notes on the bathroom mirror, telling me I was beautiful, even when I woke up with puffy eyes and morning breath. And I hated it. Well, I didn't hate him. I hated the safety. It felt like living in a museum where everything was preserved behind glass. I felt like a rare bird trapped in a gilded cage, fed the best seeds, but never allowed to fly into a storm. I wanted a storm. I wanted thunder. I wanted rain that soaked me to the bone. Lucas was just a gentle, sunny afternoon. Every single day. You look tired, C, Lucas said one evening, placing a bowl of homemade risotto in front of me. I drew a bath for you. Lavender oil. I looked at the risotto. It was perfect. Creamy, steaming, garnished with herbs he grew on our balcony. I wanted to scream. I'm not an invalid, Lucas, I snapped, picking up my fork. I can draw my own bath. He didn't get angry. He never got angry. He just smiled that soft, patient smile that made me want to throw the bowl at the wall. I know. Just trying to help. See? Boring. Spineless. That's what I told myself. I told myself his kindness was a weakness. I convinced myself that a real man would challenge me, would fight with me, would ignite something primal in my blood. Enter Dominic. Dominic was a client, a venture capitalist looking to rebrand his firm's image after a minor scandal involving offshore accounts. He was everything Lucas wasn't. He was sharp edges and expensive scotch. He wore suits that cost more than Lucas's truck. He looked at me not with adoration, but with hunger, like he wanted to consume me. Our first meeting was supposed to be an hour. It lasted 4. We drank martini after martini at a bar that was too loud and too dark. Your husband, Dominic said, leaning in close, his knee brushing mine under the table. Does he know what he has? Or is he too busy playing with his flowers? I laughed. A cruel, sharp sound. He's safe. He's nice. Nice, Dominic sneered, the word dripping with disdain. Nice is for retirement. You, Sienna, you are not built for nice. You are built for dangerous. That was the match. And I was the gasoline. I went home that night smelling of gin and Dominic's heavy, musk-scented cologne. Lucas was asleep on the couch, waiting for me. He blinked awake, his hair messy, looking like a lost puppy. You're late, he whispered, rubbing his eyes. I was worried. Work ran long, I lied smoothly. The lie tasted sweet on my tongue. Go to bed, Lucas. I need space. I watched him shuffle to the bedroom. His shoulders slumped. I didn't feel guilt. I felt superior. I felt alive. I told myself I deserved this. I deserved the thrill. Lucas was just a placeholder, a safety net I had outgrown. The affair started 2 days later. It wasn't just physical. It was a rebellion against the domestic bliss I had claimed to want, but now despised. Dominic took me to hotels where the staff didn't ask questions. He bought me jewelry that was too flashy to wear at home. He made me feel like the main character in a gritty drama, and I loved every second of it. I would come home to Lucas, to the smell of fresh bread and laundry detergent, and I would feel a sneer curling my lip. He was so oblivious. So simple. He thought our life was a romance novel, but I had turned it into a psychological thriller. And he was the victim, who didn't even know the killer was sleeping in his bed. Months passed. The thrill didn't fade. It evolved into arrogance. I stopped being careful. I left my phone face up on the table during dinner, the screen lighting up with messages from Dominic that said things like, thinking about your legs, or midnight, my place. I started picking fights with Lucas over nothing. If he chewed too loudly, I rolled my eyes. If he asked about my day, I accused him of smothering me. I wanted him to snap. I wanted him to yell, to accuse me, to give me a reason to say, "See? You're the monster, not me." But he didn't. He just absorbed it. He became quieter. One Tuesday, I came home 3 hours late. No text, no call. I walked in, my hair deliberately messy, a slight bruise on my neck that I hadn't bothered to cover with makeup. It was a test. A blatant, screaming test. Lucas was sitting at the dining table. The lights were off, save for a single lamp in the corner. He wasn't reading. He wasn't on his phone. He was just sitting there, staring at a spot on the wall. "I'm home," I announced, tossing my keys into the bowl. The sound was like a gunshot in the silence. Lucas turned his head slowly, his eyes locked onto mine. Usually his eyes were warm, like melted chocolate. Tonight they were black holes. They were void of light, void of warmth. He looked at my hair. Then he looked at my neck. His gaze lingered on the bruise for 5 seconds. 5 eternal seconds, where the air in the room turned to ice. I braced myself. Here it comes, I thought. The screaming, the crying, the begging. "Ask me." I dared him silently. "Ask me where I've been." Lucas stood up. He didn't say a word. He walked past me, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off him, but he didn't touch me. He didn't even blink. He walked into the guest bedroom and closed the door. The click of the lock turning was the loudest sound I had ever heard. I stood there in the hallway, stunned. He knew. There was no way he didn't know. But he hadn't said anything. I went to our bedroom, stripped off my clothes, and looked at myself in the mirror. I felt a surge of triumph, mixed with confusion. "Coward," I whispered to my reflection. "He's too scared to lose me. He's going to pretend he didn't see it because he knows he can't do better than me." I called my best friend Zara. Zara was single, perpetually bitter, and loved living vicariously through my chaos. "He didn't say anything?" Zara asked, her voice tinny through the speaker. "Girl, you have him wrapped around your finger. He's terrified. He knows you're out of his league. Keep having your fun. What's he gonna do? Leave? Please? Men like Lucas don't leave. They cling." "Exactly," I said, applying night cream. "He's pathetic, really. It's almost too easy." I went to sleep in our big, empty bed, sprawling out like a starfish. I felt powerful. I thought I had won the game. I didn't realize that by refusing to play, Lucas had already changed the rules. The silence didn't end the next morning. Usually, I woke up to the smell of dark roast coffee. Today, I woke up to nothing. The apartment was cold. I walked into the kitchen. The coffee pot was empty, cold and dry. There was no note on the counter. No breakfast waiting. Lucas was already gone. "Petty," I muttered, shoving a pod into the instant machine. "He's sulking." But it wasn't sulking. Sulking implies emotion. Sulking implies a desire for attention. This was erasure. For the next 2 months, I lived with a ghost. Lucas stopped cooking for me. He stopped doing my laundry. He stopped asking about my day. When we were in the same room, he looked through me, not at me. If I spoke to him, he would answer with monosyllables. "Did you pay the electric bill?" I asked one night, annoyed by the silence. "Yes," he said, not looking up from his sketchbook. "I'm going out with Zara tonight," I lied. "I was going to see Dominic." "Okay," he replied. "No, have fun. No, be careful. No, when will you be back?" Just, "okay." It started to itch under my skin. I wanted a reaction. I needed the validation of his jealousy. Without it, the affair felt hollow. Dominic was fun, sure, but part of the excitement was the risk. The feeling of stealing something valuable. If the owner left the door wide open, was it even stealing anymore? And then, Lucas started to change. Physically. He joined a high-end gym. He started leaving the house at 5 in the morning. When I saw him in the hallway, his shirts were fitting tighter across the chest. His arms, usually hidden under flannel, were becoming defined, vascular. He cut his hair. That shaggy, puppy dog look was gone, replaced by a sharp, modern fade that made his jawline look lethal. He bought new clothes, not the beige and denim I was used to. He started wearing tailored trousers, crisp linen shirts, leather boots. He looked expensive. He looked like a man who knew his worth. I caught myself staring at him one evening as he drank a glass of water in the kitchen. "You got a haircut," I said, trying to sound unimpressed. 3 weeks ago, he said calmly, placing the glass in the dishwasher. 3 weeks? Had I been so blind? Who are you dressing up for? I challenged, crossing my arms. Trying to impress the hydrangeas? He turned to me. His face was a mask of polite indifference. I'm dressing for myself, Sienna. Excuse me. He walked past me, smelling of sandalwood and something crisp, not the dirt smell I used to mock. I felt a pang of something that felt dangerously like fear, but I squashed it. No, he was doing this for me. It was a desperate attempt to win me back. He was trying to compete with the version of Dominic he imagined in his head. Nice try, Lucas, I thought. But you're still just the gardener. I went to Dominic's that night and complained about Lucas for 2 hours. He's acting so weird, I whined, pouring another glass of wine. He's trying to ignore me. It's practically emotional abuse. He's freezing me out. Dominic laughed, checking his watch. Sounds like he's boring you even when he's not talking. Come here. Forget about him. But I couldn't. I lay in Dominic's bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering if Lucas was asleep, wondering if he was thinking about me, wondering why his silence felt heavier than Dominic's arm draped over my waist. The breaking point came on our anniversary. 3 years. I expected something. A plea. A grand gesture. A breakdown where he confessed he couldn't live without me and begged me to stop seeing whoever I was seeing. I came home early. I had bought a new dress, red, backless, scandalously short. I had decided, in a moment of twisted benevolence, that I would reward him. I would give him a night of passion to remind him who owned him. I would have sex with him, and then I would go back to Dominic next week. It felt generous. It felt like I was a queen, throwing crumbs to a peasant. I set the table. I lit candles. I put on music. Lucas walked in at 7. He was wearing a charcoal suit I had never seen. He looked devastatingly handsome. My heart did a little flip that I instantly resented. He stopped in the doorway, taking in the candles, the wine, the red dress. He didn't smile. He checked his watch. What is this? He asked. It's our anniversary, silly. I purred, walking toward him. I reached out to touch his lapel. I thought we should celebrate. He took a step back. A small, precise step that put him out of my reach. I'm tired, he said. His voice was flat. I ate at the office. My hand froze in the air. The rejection hit me like a slap. You ate at the office? I repeated, my voice rising. I planned this. I dressed up for you. Do you know how lucky you are? Lucky, he repeated. It wasn't a question. It was a dead word. Yes, lucky, I snapped, the anger finally boiling over. I am here, aren't I? I could be anywhere else. I could be with someone who actually appreciates me. But I am here, trying to fix this dead, boring marriage, and you're treating me like a stranger. He looked at me. His eyes were so clear, so empty of the love I had taken for granted. I'm not treating you like a stranger, Sienna, he said quietly. I'm treating you like a roommate, which is what we are. Don't you dare, I hissed. Don't you dare act superior. You think I don't know you're trying to punish me? You think this silence hurts me? It's pathetic, Lucas. You're pathetic. You know I'm seeing someone else, don't you? You know it. I wanted to hurt him. I wanted to see blood. Yes, I screamed, stepping closer, poking him in the chest. His name is Dominic. He's rich. He's exciting. He makes me scream in ways you never could. I've been sleeping with him for months. Months, Lucas. And you just sat here and took it because you're too weak to do anything about it. I panted, waiting for the explosion. Waiting for him to grab me, to shake me, to cry. Lucas reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a white envelope. He placed it on the table, right next to the untouched wine glass. I know, he said. His voice didn't waver. I've known since the first week. I waited, Sienna. I waited to see if you would come back, if you would remember who we were. But you didn't. You just got meaner. He looked at the envelope. Those are the divorce papers. I signed them 2 weeks ago. The apartment is in your name, but the lease is up next month. I've already moved my things into storage. What? I breathed. You can't leave me. I already left, he said. You just weren't paying attention. He turned around and walked toward the door. Lucas, I screamed. If you walk out that door, I'm going to Dominic. I will never come back. You will die alone. He stopped. He didn't look back. Be happy, Sienna, he said. And then he was gone. The first 48 hours felt like a manic episode. I signed the papers. I drank the whole bottle of wine. I threw the candles in the trash. Good riddance, I shouted to the empty apartment. He held me back. Now I am free. I packed my bags. I didn't need to wait for the lease to end. I was going to Dominic. We would be a power couple. We would travel. We would laugh at how sad Lucas was. I called Dominic. Hey baby, I said, my voice slurring slightly. Good news. I did it. I left him. I told him everything. I'm packing my bags now. I'm coming over. There was a pause on the line. A long, uncomfortable pause. Whoa, slow down, Dominic said. His voice was different. The charm was gone, replaced by a cold, businesslike tone. You left him? Yes. For us, Sienna. Dominic sighed, the sound of a man dealing with an unreasonable employee. We don't have an us. We had a good time. We had some fun. But I'm not looking for a live-in girlfriend, especially not one with divorce drama. My stomach dropped through the floor. What? But, you said. I said a lot of things in the heat of the moment. He cut me off. Look, you're great in bed, really. But you're messy. You cheated on your husband for months without a shred of remorse. You think I want that energy in my house? You think I'd trust you? You're the one I cheated with, I screeched. Yeah, and that tells me everything I need to know about your character. He laughed. A cold, dry laugh. Don't come over, Sienna. The concierge won't let you up. Take care. The line went dead. I sat on the floor, surrounded by Louis Vuitton suitcases, in an apartment that suddenly felt very big and very quiet. I had to move. I couldn't afford our current place on my single salary. Lucas had paid more than half the rent. I found a one-bedroom apartment in a part of the city I used to make fun of. It smelled like damp carpet and old frying oil. The walls were thin. My friends Zara and the rest of the squad were supportive for exactly 1 week. They drank wine with me, bashed Lucas, called Dominic a pig. But then, they got bored. My tragedy was no longer entertaining. It was just sad. They stopped answering my texts. They had their own lives, their own boyfriends. I was alone, and I became obsessed. I created a fake Instagram account. I stalked Lucas. I expected to see him miserable. I expected sad quotes. I expected him to gain weight. Instead, I saw a man reborn. There were photos of him hiking in Patagonia, photos of him winning an award for a botanical garden design in Kyoto. He looked incredible. His skin was tanned. His smile, a real smile, not the polite mask he had worn for me, reached his eyes. He wasn't mourning me. He was celebrating his survival. One night, 6 months post-divorce, I saw a photo tagged of him at a gallery opening. He was wearing a tuxedo, and standing next to him, with her hand resting comfortably on his arm, was a woman. She wasn't flashy. She wasn't wearing heavy makeup or a dress that screamed for attention. She was elegant. She had kind eyes and laughing lines around her mouth. She was a curator at the museum. I looked her up. She spoke 3 languages. She volunteered at animal shelters. She was substantial. In the photo, Lucas was looking down at her. The look on his face, it was the look he used to give me, years ago, before I broke him. It was adoration. It was respect. I threw my phone against the wall. It shattered. I curled up on my cheap IKEA rug and sobbed until my throat bled. Not because I missed him, I was still too selfish for that, but because he had won. He had won the breakup. He had won at life. And he had done it by simply cutting me out like a dead branch. It had been a year. My career had stalled. It turns out, being a bitter, hungover mess isn't great for public relations. I had lost 2 major clients. I was drinking too much. I had gained weight from stress eating and cheap takeout. My face looked hard, the lines around my mouth etched with permanent dissatisfaction. I was invited to a charity gala. I almost didn't go, but I needed the networking. I put on my old red dress, the anniversary dress. It was tight now, unflattering. I felt uncomfortable in my own skin. I was standing by the bar, nursing a watered-down gin and tonic, scanning the room for someone, anyone, who might offer me a job or a date. And then I saw him. The crowd seemed to part. Lucas walked in. He was radiant. There is no other word for it. He possessed a quiet confidence that filled the room. He was talking to the city mayor, laughing easily. And she was there, the curator. Her name was Elena. She wore a deep blue silk gown. She looked serene, happy. Lucas whispered something in her ear, and she laughed, touching his cheek affectionately. He leaned into her touch. It was a picture of intimacy that I had never achieved. Not with him, certainly not with Dominic. I should have hidden. I should have run to the bathroom. But my ego, that bruised, battered thing that still drove me, forced me forward. I convinced myself that if I just talked to him, if I reminded him of our history, I could crack that perfect facade. I wanted him to see me. I wanted him to hurt just a little. I walked up to them. "Lucas," I said. My voice was shrill, too loud over the jazz music. He stopped. He turned. Elena turned too, her expression polite, curious. Lucas looked at me. He didn't flinch. He didn't look angry. He didn't look sad. He looked at me with the polite recognition one gives to a former neighbor or a distant cousin you haven't seen in a decade. "Hello, Sienna," he said. His voice was smooth, untroubled. "You look good," I stammered. I felt small. I felt dirty. "Thank you," he said. "You remember the mayor?" He didn't even introduce me as his ex-wife. He just deflected. "Lucas," I pressed, ignoring the mayor, ignoring Elena. "Can we talk? Just for a second?" I've been doing a lot of thinking. About us. About the mistake I made. I saw Elena stiffen slightly, but she didn't say anything. She just looked at Lucas. Lucas looked at me. And in his eyes, I saw the final punishment. There was no hate. Hate is passionate. Hate means you still care. There was absolutely nothing. I was a stranger to him. I was a bad memory that had already faded. "Sienna," he said gently, like he was speaking to a child. "There is nothing to talk about. That was a different life. I barely remember it." He turned to Elena and smiled a smile full of warmth and future. "Ready to go, darling?" "Yes," she said softly. "Nice to see you, Sienna," Lucas said, nodding once. And then he turned his back on me. He walked away, his hand on the small of Elena's back, guiding her through the crowd. He didn't look back. Not once. I stood there, alone in the middle of the crowded ballroom. The music played. People laughed. Glasses clinked. I realized then that his silence hadn't been weakness. It had been strength. He hadn't fought me because I wasn't worth the fight. He hadn't yelled because I wasn't worth the noise. I had traded a diamond for a handful of gravel, thinking the gravel was glitter. I looked around the room. No one was looking at me. I was invisible. I destroyed him. I had told myself for months. But as I watched him walk out the door into a beautiful, love-filled night, leaving me in the cold, artificial light of the gala, I finally accepted the truth. I hadn't destroyed him. I had freed him. And in doing so, I had destroyed myself. I took a sip of my watery drink. It tasted like ash. I turned around and walked toward the exit, alone, knowing that the only thing waiting for me at home was the echo of my own voice.